This next section is an odd little section in this chapter, but it elevates our game as far as algebra is concerned. The problems we encounter here, what we're trying to do is solve equations that are in what they call quadratic form, okay? And we'll explain that, but these kinds of equations do crop up quite a bit in math classes beyond this one. And so it's important for students to see this in case you are traveling on farther into mathematics, okay? All right, so basically quadratic form, let's read this thing here. Consider this equation. Yes, it's not a quadratic equation since the power is 4 and not 2, but it is of the quadratic form. That is, there are 3 terms, and the higher power is twice the lower power, or more precisely, the square of the lower power, and it ends with a constant term. Students have a little bit of difficulty seeing this, so I'm happy to write out some notes before we look at an example. And here's the example. So we're going to work on this guy right here. All right. And here's another look. Basically, instead of x to the 4 x squared, you can kind of blur your eyes a little and go, what I'm looking at is a power of x and then the square of that power. So there's this so-called quadraticness of the equation, if you will. The big story is right here, and don't worry, later I'll write out notes for us, okay? But the big story is what we will do so that we can see it better. So we can see it better. It's really for our benefit, and we do what we call u substitution all the time, okay? So let u equal x squared, and then substitute u in for x squared, and lo and behold, we get this. Now, wait a second. You said u is equal to x squared. Therefore, if I square both sides, I get x to the 4th. Yep. Let's look. X to the 4th here is going to be replaced with u squared. And x squared is going to be replaced with u. Okay, so we have an equation that says u squared minus 2u minus 3 is 0. And when people see that, they go, oh yeah, I know what to do with that. It's an easy solution. So I go ahead in the notes and I solve it right there. And I get u is -1 or 3. But here's the catch, right? We're solving for x. So we have to substitute back. Instead of saying u is equal to 3 or u is equal to -1, we have to say x squared is equal to 3 or x squared is equal to -1, which means at the end of all these problems, you still have some work to do, okay? What I did in this problem was you square root cancel. Remember that? Square root plus minus. That's your first answer right there. Square root cancel and square root plus minus. Turn that into I and you have it done. Okay? Let's see. I have three examples to show you in this video. Okay, let's start with this one. All right. So we have the same kind of problem. We have 4x to the 4th and then x squared. So we'll do the same thing I just did. This would be a good lab exercise to have you guys do in class. You go, let u equal x squared. Therefore, when I square both sides, u squared is x to the 4th. And then people kind of see it. X to the 4th is going to be replaced by u squared, this guy. And x squared will be replaced by u. Nevertheless, the equation stays the same. It's 4 times u squared minus 17u plus 4 is 0. And you look at that and you go, oh man, I know how to factor that. Of course, this is spaghetti, isn't it? So we have to go 4 is 1 times 4, 2 times 2. The other 4 is 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. But what I notice is that the 17 is negative, so maybe these guys need to be both negative. Now, which one works so that we get a negative 17? Let's take a look. I think I see it. I mean, you have to use the big numbers to get to 17. Look at that. Negative 16 and -1 is negative 17. That's the winner. So we are factoring to solve it, and it should be like u and maybe 4u, but then 4 has to multiply with -4 like that. That's -1. Okay? So we end up u is equal to 4 and u is equal to 1/4. Okay? Are we done? But here's the catch, remember? The catch is now we have to substitute back. Okay, since u is equal to x squared, we go and replace u with x squared. This will finish the game. Okay, there's a little extra work with these problems, and here it is. So how do we solve something like that? When we're confronted with a square, we did what I did before. I'm going to square root cancel, square root plus minus, and get x is plus minus 2. Square root cancel, square root plus minus, and x is plus minus, well, when you square it 1/4, it's going to be 1/2. Those are your answers. We got 4 answers, and look, the power is 4. Interesting. Okay, so there are those types of problems, but there's many others. I have 2 more examples to show you. You ready? All right, let's keep going. Now, in this page, I write out the steps that I use, okay? You'll see other powers in this section. There's a relatively straightforward process to their solutions, or to finding their solutions. In the first step here, this is where people have to start right away. You let u be the middle power. Okay, I'll explain that in a second. Then you're supposed to square u to see that the square power matches the problem. Substitute u in, solve by factoring, substitute back in the variable, and then solve. So those are the steps that we follow. Okay, look at this next guy right here. It is certainly quadratic form looking. The so-called middle power here is that middle term. Here's the square, here's the single. When I do this problem, it'll be that guy as well. It'll be the b to the 1/3 power. It's the middle power, or the lesser power, if you will. So what we should do is simply go, let u equal, in fact, I like to go in red with this. This reminds me, by the way, a lot of calculus. We got to do a u sub, and we go, let u equal z squared plus 2. Look at it. Then the next step, square it. U squared is z squared plus 2. Just write squared, and you can see it. You don't have to do that part, but it helps to see what you're doing. So this guy gets replaced, the z squared plus 2 quantity squared gets replaced with u squared. And the z squared plus 2 gets replaced with u. Okay? So it's u squared plus 6u minus 7 is 0. How's that going? That's the big first step, because I know you know how to factor. In fact, this one is not bad at all. It's just u, and how about a plus 7 and a minus 1 work for you? Okay. I think I have the signs wrong, don't I? No, I have it right. Okay, we're good. So we end up with u is negative 7, or u is equal to 1. Are we done? Almost. But we have to come back and replace u with z squared plus 2 is minus 7. Z squared plus 2 is 1. Okay, we got to solve that. Okay, so you got to put your thinking cap on. How do I solve that? What's a good way? We're going to use the square root property. We're going to go z squared is equal to negative 9. Okay, so we're going to square root each side. We're going to square root cancel, square root plus minus. I kind of messed up that one. Start over with that one. Inside there was a negative 9, huh? So we get z is equal to, what do you think? 3i. Correct. Couple of complex. Same story here. We're going to go throw the 2 to the other side. We're going to go z squared is equal to, when he goes over there, it becomes minus 2, doesn't it? So it's minus 1. Square root cancel, square root plus minus. And the answer we get is z is equal to plus minus. We've seen him before, I. Man, we got 4 complex answers to this thing. Pretty crazy. Now, I tell people sometimes, yeah, what you could do is you can square this thing out if you want to, and distribute that and combine terms, but that's a lot of work at the front end. And this is easier. If you can just get your eye trained to seeing the quadratic nature or quadraticness of the equation, okay? All right, last one for the video, and then you do your homework. All right, so for this one, we'll let u equal b to the 1/3 power. We're not afraid of that. That's the third root, but we're just going to do the algebra here. Therefore, u squared, watch this, is b to the 1/3 squared. And what is that? B to the 2/3. And look, it matches. Okay, it helps you see. So we'll say the front end guy, that is u squared minus 9 times u plus 18 is 0. That was our substitution. Okay. Next step, factor and solve. Looks like it's, oh, I know what it is. It's u minus 6 and u minus 3. Cool. So we get u is 6 or u is 3. But we substitute in what u is. U is b to the 1/3, b to the 1/3. In this case is equal to 6. In this case is equal to 3. How do you conquer that 1/3 power? Some of you know right away. Others need this little kicker, which is the third root of b is 6. The third root of b is 3. So guess what? What we do last is we cube, power each side to get your answer. And we're getting b is free from the prison, and over here is 6 cubed. Oh my gosh, what is that? 216 or something like that? I think so. And over here, this guy's 27. You have to cube those guys. There you go. So that's a quadratic form kind of mission. Solving those guys is very mechanical. If you practice this, when you see it, you should be able to handle it. You just stay calm when you take the test. That's it. I'll see you. The next section is parabolas, baby. Here we go.